Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Yeah, so it's our last session.
I know. That's kind
Hard
of
to
scary.
believe, right?
I know, but it's exciting too. I can't believe it went by so
I
fast.
know, I know. So tell me, how's your week been? How have you been doing?
It's actually been a really, really good week. My boyfriend's happens to be out of town again. He's in Europe, and I actually feel like I'm doing pretty well. Um, yeah, so he left last weekend, and like I've told you before, he can't really talk a lot when he's on his work trips,
hmm
and we worked on that a lot. And I actually feel like I'm keeping myself busy. I'm spending time with my friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I feel like that heavy weight that was like on my chest when he would leave before isn't necessarily as bad right now. It's actually very manageable, and I feel like I have the strategies to kind of keep myself occupied without getting completely anxiety ridden. So yeah, that's been surprisingly good. It's been nice to spend time with my friends and kind of keep myself distracted and whatnot.
Well, that's sorry to interrupt,
No,
but that's amazing. I mean, from when we first started seeing each other, I remember he was on a trip, and that was kind of derailing for you.
mm-hmm.
And now, in just a few weeks, you've implemented these strategies to make it not so unbearable.
Yeah. It's come full circle. I feel like
Yeah.
since we started, and it's nice to feel like I do have some strategies in my pocket or my toolkit to kind of pull out for when he does leave, because it happens pretty regularly.
Yeah.
But it feels good.
That must be kind of almost freeing.
Yeah, it does feel good, and kind of looking at the positives of the situation, how I do get to spend time with my friends and focus on myself and whatnot. So yeah, that's been really good.
That's incredible that you've been able to kind of apply those things that we've talked about in here.
Yeah, and along with that, I just wanted to add that for work too, it's been a really big week. I've been talking a lot with my supervisor, and he really wants to kind of help me initiate the process of being promoted. And it was kind of his idea to put the idea out there to our boss. And so yeah, he's really helping me along with that. And I can't, I know it's something we've talked about a lot in therapy, and I'm really excited to kind of see those changes happen. And yeah, it's been really a really big week.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that was a major source of frustration for you. Once you I know your initial problem with work was the anxiety, and then it became this frustration that you weren't being seen or appreciated. So that's incredible and I know that you've been trying really hard to have impactful conversations. So it sounds like you've been doing just that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't believe it. He actually approached me, and I've had conversations with him repeatedly about wanting a raise or wanting a promotion, and so obviously that paid off, and he's kind of starting that process up for me. So,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you've had a very big week.
I know.
And a really good one.
I know. It has been a really good week, so it feels good coming into like the last session knowing that it's off of a strong week.
Yeah, and I think you put it perfectly. It kind of came full circle, which is exactly kind of where we want to be at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is actually a really nice segue into this is our last session, which, like you said, it's flown by.
Yeah,
but there are a couple of things that I like to kind of go over before we wrap up. And the first one is just kind of talking about all of the progress that you've made.
Okay.
And I know that your major issue coming in here was this intense anxiety, mostly at work, but also at home. And it sounds like you've been able to better manage that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a lot of the, personal history we've talked about, and kind of the similarities of things that have happened in my past, and kind of how they're playing out now, and really addressing what has happened in my past, like, has been so helpful to me. And I didn't think I would really be able to like get to the point where I could share all that. or that it would necessarily help me feel better, but I do think that it was a big underlying component of my anxiety. And yeah, the strategies we've talked about have been, helpful when I am feeling anxious. And so yeah, it feels good, and it feels good to not be overwhelmed by the anxiety anymore.
I understand how overwhelming, like you said, anxiety can be. So, and even implementing new strategies can be anxiety inducing.
Right.
So I applaud you for that as well. And then this relationship with your mom, I know, is another thing that we started at a certain point where there was uncertainty, there was some, a little bit of resentment, and now it sounds like you guys are on a much better track.
Yeah, so I feel like for me to be able to get to that point with my mom, it really had to start with me processing everything that happened. And I think since we were able to do that in the therapy room here, like I then slowly became more and more available to, the idea of really welcoming my mom back and being able to kind of develop our relationship, because I know, I went to visit her and I had all those feelings of being overwhelmed again by her being back in my life when she'd been gone for so long. So it's been refreshing to really talk about all the underlying things that had affected me, and I didn't really realize it. And so I can kind of form a relationship with my mom, especially since she still has cancer, and I want to get to spend time with her, as much time as I have left. So that's been really helpful for me.
And one thing that I'm particularly proud of you for is, I know, kind of having an upfront conversation with her seemed almost impossible a while back. And I know over the past few weeks in session we've been practicing, and you've been practicing at home, kind of having those conversations with her, and it sounds like, again, that's really paying off. Yeah,
definitely. It's not something I had ever thought of doing before, but it definitely is helping, me gain the courage to do it with her in person. I feel like even since we've been practicing, I've been able to kind of, let some of those kind of slide into my conversations with my mom. Like, not obviously haven't just gone in and addressed it all, but I've been less shy about talking about some of those more traumatic things.
And knowing that it's okay to feel a little bit of resentment and things that I think you might have been not proud to admit before, or things like that.
Right.
Great. And then the last thing that I think is just as important is your sleep. I know that was a huge issue for you coming in here. Not only weren't you sleeping, but that was leading to you being tired and not able to concentrate. And I know that we've kind of tried and tested a few different strategies, and you found a few that work. So would you say that your sleep is...
Definitely, and again, that was a huge underlying piece that I think didn't help the anxiety. I know it was a symptom of the anxiety, but it definitely wasn't helping that I wasn't sleeping. And so I think kind of what we've worked on in here has really helped me sleep better and get on a more normal sleep schedule. And so I'm not tired. I'm doing better at work because of it. I'm more regulated around other people because of it. So I think, it's really been huge for me.
Definitely. And I know that you said, I think you mentioned that yoga before bedtime helps a lot, and then a sound machine, just like a white noise, will help a lot too. So, obviously keep doing whatever works for you. Don't be afraid to, continue kind of exploring what else might work. So as you can see, you've made a ton of progress in just a few weeks. And that's absolutely incredible, and you should be proud of yourself. But I know sometimes as we look towards the end of sessions together, there can be certain feelings about the end of therapy. So how are you feeling about our last session?
Obviously, I came in with mixed feelings because I was excited to tell you about this week, and it does feel really good to come in here after such a strong week. But I guess it's bittersweet a little bit because therapy has gotten me so far, and then now for it to be ending is sad. But feel confident that I have strategies to help me, going forward. But yeah, it like I said, it's bittersweet because coming in here after a strong week makes me want to make sure I continue to maintain, where I'm at now. So I don't know. I don't want to say I have anxiety about it, but I'm nervous, and I just want to be able to continue to implement the strategies and kind of stay at the pace I've been moving at right now, and hopefully progress even more. So there's mixed feelings. There's definitely mixed feelings about it,
and that's so common to have mixed feelings about it. You're excited, as you should be, about all of the progress you made, about the new tools in your toolkit that you can use moving forward. But it is it can be sad, ending therapy. But you should know that one, like I said, you have all these new strategies to implement that, to other situations, not just the anxieties that we've talked about in here, but down the line, there will be things that come up that now you know how to kind of manage your anxiety a little bit better. And then the other thing is, my door is always open. So if you ever need kind of a refresher session or a couple of sessions to kind of remind you that you have all of these tools in your toolkit, then the door is absolutely open.
Okay, that's really good to know because it's just good to have that strategy or tool in my toolkit as well, just in case, because with everything I have with people leaving and whatnot, like it feels good to know that I can always come back.
That's a good point as well.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk for a second about some of the strategies that we've learned in session, and kind of give you a refresher for what you can take into situations moving forward. So I know that practicing conversations, whether that's writing letters to people or practicing them out loud, that like we've done with your mom.
Right.
I know that that's been really helpful, and it sounds like you even applied that to your work life as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's helped a lot with, I think, my confidence in general, and so being able to kind of practice what I'm saying before going into a meeting with potentially my boss in the future, that I definitely think that strategy will be useful going forward. And my boyfriend, has practiced it with me. He knows I'm doing that, so he's a good resource to kind of practice.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I've noticed that this is a really good strategy for conflict. Not that you had conflict with your mom, but it was a confrontation.
Yeah.
Or for situations like at work when you're sticking up for yourself or advocating for yourself. So that's a really good strategy to apply in many situations.
Okay.
And then just continuing, I think we talked about this already, but continuing those sleep hygiene practices. So like yoga before bed, if that works for you, the sound machine. And then obviously continue exploring what works and what doesn't, but it sounds like you already have a better kind of hold on it.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I'm a little less nervous to explore some other strategies probably.
That's great.
As well. Yeah.
Good. So how are you feeling about how therapy went from start to finish?
I'm so surprised, I guess, because I didn't really know what to expect at all. And like I've told you, I've been open in the past about things that have happened with me and my mom, and I've talked to people, like friends, about what specifically happened, but I've never really processed it with, someone who's trained to process it. So I feel like I had no idea the impact that would have, and I'm so excited to have processed these feelings and to be able to move forward with my mom. And I feel like you were a really good listener, and you were able to really help me understand the impact of the relationship I had with her growing up, and really help me develop those strategies, which I needed going day to day, because I was like having such a hard time. So I would recommend it to anyone now, having experienced it. And yeah, it was the best decision for me, because I don't know how I would, continue moving forward with how I was starting therapy.
That's so good for me to hear, and I'm so happy about that because as a therapist, and I saw you from session 1 to now our termination session, and I have seen just a 180-degree change, and that doesn't always happen in therapy so quickly. So I think that speaks very much to you and your resilience and how you were ready for change and ready to implement some of the things that we're talking about. And I'm more than confident that you are going to take what we've talked about and apply it outside of the room.
I hope so. I mean, I feel good about it too. So it's nice to hear you say it as well, because that definitely helps reassure me.
Yeah, and it should. And again, as a therapist, you are an incredibly insightful and self-aware client. So I'm absolutely confident that down the line that you're able to assess situations and understand what needs to be done, and again, implementing the strategies that we've talked about.
Right. No, I'm feeling confident as well, and hearing us kind of go over it is helping me organize it in my head, really. And, I feel coming in here, I felt a little anxious, but I feel better now, kind of re-going over all the strategies and things we practiced in here to kind of help me when I leave.
That's great. That's great. So as we kind of near the end of our last session, is there anything else that you think we should bring up before we leave today?
I mean, nothing in particular, other than, like, obviously I want to thank you for being such a good therapist, and it's really nice for me to know that your door is still open, and I can come back because I know, we've talked about what's happened in my past, it being really impactful, and that there, I know there's long-standing consequences or behavioral things for me that come from what happened, and unless I maintain and proactively work on the anxiety, I know, old feelings can come back. So it really does feel good to know I can come back in here if I do need a refresher or whatnot. But other than that, I don't really have anything in particular other than thank you.
Yeah, no, well, good. And just like you said, and like I said prior, the door is always open, and you know how to find me and how to get a hold of me, so we can have another session anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.